Hello and welcome to this quick demonstration, rather kind of exploration walkthrough of the Augmentoolkit interface. This is not a quick start. The quick start video is a different video, which has been linked in the README. Currently, the training run from the quick start is in progress. I'm recording this so that I can give you an overview of what all these different tabs do, what the buttons in them do, how to use everything, and basically so that you were not lost at any point in using this interface. So the homepage, nothing much to see here, just a welcome message. Configs, this is where you start getting interactivity. Here you see a bunch of different config.yaml files. Each of these runs a specific pipeline. You can go and enter the editing page for a config file by double clicking on it. Um, the it, yeah, let's go look at the edit page and I'll cover these buttons. So edit page, anything with attention next to it is drawing your attention to a potential foot gun. That is something which might cause problems for you if you were not aware of it, and if it might cause problems for you if you're not aware of it, but it is still by default a valid setting. So one place you'll often see this is use subset. So have only generating data from a subset of your current total input data is valid and valuable if you are testing. Very bad if you're doing something for production and you want to get as much data as you possibly can. So this is a valid default, but it can really mess you up if you're not aware of it, so we draw your attention to it with this attention marker. Placeholders are definitely invalid, and they're things that you need to customize. These are things like your API key, um, and it speaks for itself. It's a placeholder. So that's pretty much how config editing works. You can make new folders to organize your configs if you like organizing things. Just give it a name and then you can create it. You'll see folders appear here. They are indicated when they're created with a nice little flashing animation. You can see that it flashes. You can delete folders. When you delete things, obviously you delete the things inside them. You can command click to select many config files. That lets you delete many things at once. Bit risky to do that though. When it comes to creating new configs, that's what duplicate config does. Now, this is maybe a bit not obvious at the start. What this does is it lets you create a config from a template, and the templates available are a bunch of templates for the each pipeline that exists. So, for instance, we have a template for the complete factual data generation one, which is here, I believe. You can pick it from a list, or you can type it in here and it will autocomplete. Or you can type it in here and it will autocomplete. So like this one. Um, and then you need to give it the config template that you were basically copying um, a name. So like new config, and it must end with .yaml. So end with .yaml, duplicate it, and then you'll see it was created here. And it created a new config file based on like a template, which means we have all the placeholders where it makes sense to have placeholders, and we have attention where it makes sense to draw your attention to things, but sensible defaults in most of the other fields. Still, though, you can write anything you want here if you want to customize it further. Mind you, you can only customize. You can only get so far by customizing a config. Eventually, if you want to customize something really far, you'll have to edit the pipeline itself, which you can do from the source code. But yeah, so that's how configs work. You can make new folders. Oh, and by the way, drag and drop is a thing that you can do for organization. So drag it into a folder, it goes into the folder, delete the folder, you'll delete everything inside the folder, obviously. Um, yeah, you can do like drag out files, etc. That is how configs work. Input management is much the same as config management, but with a bit less stuff and kind of additional feature here. So click on folders, chevrons to expand them, expand as many times as you want. You can't view the files in the input manager. If you want to do that, just use your computer's file system. It should be easy enough. You can create new folders. You can upload you can upload with the what this button does is with you can upload entire folders, so that will just open up Finder if you're on Mac or equivalent if you're on another operating system. You can just pick a folder and click choose, and it will upload in your folder here. Download lets you it basically makes a copy of a folder in your downloads folder. Kind of semi-pointless, seeing as this runs locally, but when this is eventually hosted, this will be useful. And in the meantime, if you want to have a degree of separation between your Augmentoolkit input folder and the things that you actively change, then download. It's very useful because it makes a copy in a different part of your computer. Outputs, which we have nice fireworks on because we're celebrating the fact that we finished generating stuff. Um, the same as input management, but without a create folder or upload button because this is entirely read only. There is no writing except for deleting, which is good for organization. Logs. Logs are where running pipelines write their in progress reports to. So you see here, the name of a log file is the same as the task ID of a pipeline execution. So that's how you can kind of keep track of which log file is which. Double click to open it up. You can see things in progress. You can refresh the log file as well because these will be updating if you're in progress. You can see this is currently running. So I keep refreshing and it keeps adding lines. And the delete functionality works as you would expect. Refresh also works as you would expect. Pipeline monitoring is the first kind of different page that's not about managing files. Here you can see a bunch of different, like all the different pipeline executions you've done, what status they're in, if they've been revoked, failed, or if they've completed, etc. To go view a pipeline execution in whatever stage it is in, click on it in the task history, and you can see it. Also, since this is local storage, if you have multiple copies of Augmentoolkit on the same computer, they will all use the same cached stuff, which is maybe not the best. I'm considering changing that somehow, but that's how it works right now. You can also view revoked or failed things, the particle effects and color change, etc. On the pipeline monitoring page itself, there's a lot going on here. You see the message given that has most recently been like sent to the API by the pipeline that is running. Progress is managed like by the pipeline that is running as well with a set progress function. So that will be continually updating and it will filter 100% as the pipeline goes and completes. You can see the logs here. Generally advised to run pipelines with the interface and not via the CLI because the interface sidesteps the whole problem of teletypewriters blocking script execution with because the print statement's filling up the buffer. That's a very complex and long way of saying uh, if you want to set something and forget it and does it run a pipeline and just leave it, the interface is a very reliable way to do that without having to do stuff like pipe your script output to log files, which the interface does automatically. So you can cancel the task, which will interrupt this. You can download the output folder, which will make a copy of the output folder here. Well, a copy of the output folder that has been used, has been pointed to by the parameters sent to the pipeline. It will make a copy of the output folder in the downloads folder. And of course, clear history, clear logs. These do what you would expect. Auto scroll is a button that you can toggle that will keep the task logs scrolling to the bottom as this proceeds. This is not necessarily a page that you'll want to sit on. Well, I mean, if you are going to be setting off a pipeline execution, you will want to sit here, but don't just like sit and watch and wait and be annoyed that it's not moving faster. Dataset generation takes a while, and so does model training. So uh, start a full pipeline execution and then go have lunch, go to sleep, go touch grass, do what you will, come back, and then the task will be done eventually. Chat is a new fun thing. What chat does is it lets you interact with the models that you are running. So you might have noticed in configs when we go and duplicate config. You might have noticed basic server and yeah, reg config, etc. Um, there are two pipelines. They're not really data generation pipelines, but rather utility pipelines that make a inference server for Augmentoolkit to hit up. The server by default runs on port 8003. You can change the port by clicking on this gear here, and then that will open up settings. You can also refresh the check for whether there is a proper server running on that port. When a server becomes available, either because you ran one of the utility one of the utility pipelines from the config manager. Config manager is where you run all your pipelines in case it wasn't obvious. You go here and then click run. Um, when a inference server is available, you will see server online, and then you can send messages to the model and get responses back, which is very useful for testing models that you've just trained, and also very convenient because by default, um, the correct system prompt, the correct prompt template, everything is configured correctly, which can sometimes be a bit annoying if you have customized things like the prompt template. Everything's configured for you correctly by default, and this lets you get quickly using the models that you make without having to use an intermediate thing like the text generation or UI, etc. This is powered by Llama CPP on the back end, so reliable, cross-platform, sometimes slow. I'm looking into using something like VLLM or Aphrodite for the inference here, but those have their own problems, so that might change. Still kind of an irrelevant detail, I guess. You won't be able to interact with it until the server is connected. Also note that the training pipeline, the default Augmentoolkit pipeline, will run the model that has been trained in an inference server here when this training finishes. So you won't need to run anything separate. When you train your first model, it will automatically become available in the chat pipeline, and you will see, in fact, the chat button up here will pulse white when it is available and you're on another page. So yeah, so that's kind of a ad hoc walkthrough of all these different pages and how they work. One last thing I guess I kind of realized that I should mention as we were going through here. Um, the interaction here, run kicks off a pipeline execution. This pipeline, whatever pipeline is pointed at with the pipeline key, will be run with these settings when you click run. And reset and save. So if I make a change here, we see these two buttons that are kind of highlighted. Reset will reset the contents of this editor window to whatever the file actually is right now, whereas save will persist them. Command S and all your typical VS Code shortcuts work. So if I do like Command Shift L, I get multiple cursors. I can middle mouse drag and get multiple cursors. Command F works. Monaco is a lovely editor. We all like it. So that is kind of a overview of the Augmentoolkit interface. Um, Kind of off the cuff, but I hope that it was useful. And I hope to see you making some awesome custom LLMs using the project. Being a model creator is a fun hobby, a really creative one, and I believe that custom models that letting now that AI can be aligned to your use case, it really opens up a lot of possibilities for what can be done with it and the value that it can deliver. So I hope you enjoy creating custom LLMs. I hope to see you in the Discord if you have any further questions or on the GitHub issues. I'll be answering stuff there. And possibly check out the other videos if like the CLI walkthrough and the quick start if you want the information contained in them. So yeah, so that's all for this help video, and I'll see you around. Have a good one.